Yuta Okkotsu is probably the hottest character that's talked about in the Jujutsu Kaisen community right now, and rightfully so. It's because of what he's been doing the past couple chapters, and I'd say aside from Gojo, Yuta, he's probably second for MVP in the alliance that's been fighting against Sukuna. If you guys did not know, Yuta, he is my favorite character in Jujutsu Kaisen. It used to be Fushiguro, used to be Gojo, but then after movie 0, Yuta, he definitely submitted himself to being my favorite character. I think anybody who has a favorite character, whenever they're doing something that's really exciting or doing something that has you at the edge of your seat, you're going to be excited, and I am not the exception. I love what's going on with Yuta in the manga right now. He's going crazy, and I want to talk about that today. But if you guys enjoy regular anime content, make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you guys never miss out a new video. With that in mind, is Potential Unleashed, and let's talk about why Yuta Okkotsu has the potential to surpass Gojo Satoru. Even though Sukuna, he is awakened, he is not at full power, and that's thanks to Gojo, but it's still not surprising that Yuta is able to keep up with this version of Sukuna. Yuta, he's always been talked about as a character in a good light when it comes to his strength. He is related to Gojo, who is a part of one of the 3 great sorcerer clans. Gojo, he mentioned that Yuta would be as good as him someday, constantly talking about his potential. I mean, he was able to mess up Geto pretty badly only a few months of learning Jiu-Jitsu. And after a year and a few months, he's already boxing with an unleashed Sukuna. So I'd say that Yuta, he's probably one of the top 10 strongest characters in the series. Now, because of his strength and everything that he is capable of doing, a lot of people, they were upset with the fact that Yuta was not at Shibuya. Some believe that if Yuta, if he was there, he could have prevented a lot of the deaths that happened. I think it's possible. I personally believe that there's a reason why Jeji, they decided not to include certain individuals or showcase them fighting in this arc. The people I'm referring to is Hikari, Yuta, Toji, and Tsukimo. If you go on Twitter right now, I'd say a lot of the Yuta arguments or debates, they revolve around Yuta versus a 15-finger Sukuna and whether or not he can defeat him. Now, I'm not going to say whether he can or can't, but I do think that it's a possibility. The reason why this debate is so hard to, I guess, declare who would actually win is because we really don't know exactly how strong each individual finger that Sukuna has actually is, or what the multiplier is. For example, let's look at the Super Saiyan transformation from Dragon Ball. We know how much of a multiplier some of the transformations are. Super Saiyan 1 is times 50, Super Saiyan 2 is times 100, and then Super Saiyan 3 is either, I believe, 300 or 400. So if a power level is 1,000,000, we would simply just have to multiply it based off of whatever Super Saiyan transformation is being used. Compared to Sukuna's fingers, we have no clue how strong each finger is. Is it constant with each finger, or is there a huge gap between certain individuals? We're not sure. For example, how strong or what's the difference between strength between the Sukuna that Fushiguro fought in season 1 compared to one in Shibuya compared to the one that Gojo fought during the Culling game? It's really hard to tell, and that's why I'm not sure if Yuta could win, but based off of what I've seen him do so far against Sukuna in the manga, I don't see why he couldn't give 15-finger Sukuna a run for his money. As I mentioned earlier, Yuta, he was not at Shibuya until after the main battle ceased, and a lot of people had him on fraud watch. Fair, I get it. At the same time, we have to give credit when credit's due, because at the beginning of the Culling games, he fought against Uro and Ishigori, and he showed the fuck out. We can all say that Yuta, he defeated them with relative ease, and in this fight, we got the 3A domain expansion, and I was freaking hyped, not only because it was the first ever 3A domain expansion, but we were finally about to see what Yuta's domain expansion looked like. To me, seeing a domain expansion reveal, it kind of reminds me of a Bunkai from Bleach, because that's the pinnacle of their strength, the final power-up that they'll ever show, and every one of them is so unique and so creative. And the same with domains expansions, all of them are so broken, unique, and I love seeing them. However, during this fight, the domains, they weren't revealed, and I'm not gonna lie to you guys, after this happened, after we got blue ball like this, I didn't think we were ever going to see his domain expansion ever used in the story, however I was wrong. Circling back to the fight with Sukuna in chapter 234, at this point Gojo he appeared to be losing the fight, and this is when Yuta he was about to join in, but Kashima said that he was going next, implying that he was the second strongest here. And boy, well, he looked silly after that one. Originally, I didn't think that Yuta that he was going to get to fight against Sukuna, and it's not that I didn't want it to happen, I just didn't believe that's what the direction of the story was going, because we know the history that Yuta and Geto that they have, and Okkotsu he mentioned that he would kill Kenjaku so that Gojo wouldn't have to kill his friend again, which he did, but I thought this was Jeji's way of kind of writing Yuta out of the fight against Sukuna. Then again, I also didn't think that Kenjaku would get low diff like that and have such an underwhelming death, but hey, I'm glad that he is in the fight, because now that means we get to see Sukuna, who is considered to be the king of curses, versus Rika, who's called the Queen of Curses. Ever since that he got to the battlefield, Yuta he had been trading blows back and forth with Sukuna, seeing the 2v1 with him and Rika, and I'll talk about Itadori in a little bit. This sequence, it kind of reminds me once again of his fight against Geto. Yuta then takes it up a notch and he uses his domain expansion. Finally, it is called Authentic Mutual Love. It's really cool looking, I'm not gonna lie. There's a bunch of swords around his domain and each of them have a curse technique that he's copied. His domain expansion selects one technique from those he copies and grants it to the bearer for the can't miss attack. The other curse techniques inhabit the katana within his domain at random, and he can draw on their effects one time before the katana disappears. It's also limiting Sukuna to half his arms because he has to maintain hollow wicker basket to not get hit by Yuta's guaranteed hit. We've also even seen him copy Sukuna's cleave technique, so Yuta his domain expansion, not gonna lie, it's pretty broken, but it's not overly broken, which I love. As I mentioned earlier in the video, Gojo he stated that Hikari, Yuta, and Yuji that they would be as good as him one day, and right now Hikari he is fighting against Urame, and Itadori and Yuta they are currently fighting 2v1, or I guess technically if you count Rika, 3v1 against Sukuna. Not saying that it'll happen, but I think it would be pretty freaking cool if these two were to be able to finish off what Gojo started after he already believed that they would be his equal one day. There's also a statement somewhere along the lines of Gojo dealing enough damage to allow these two to fight, and people are comparing Sukuna and Gojo to Yuta, where I'm like, well duh, of course they're going to be stronger than them because they've experienced much more battles than he has. They're also considered to be the king of curses and the strongest sorcerer alive, so like yeah, they're going to be stronger than him, and comparing Yuta to this version of them is kind of dumb since he's been in the Jujutsu world less than 2 years. Obviously comparing him to a prime Gojo that fought against Sukuna, that wouldn't make sense. The proper version you would have to compare him to would be the Gojo who was still a student, because back then, as we saw in his fight against Toji, he was still struggling to use reverse techniques, struggling to use red, and also that means he didn't have hollow purple just yet. So Yuta having his curse technique copy, reverse curse technique, domain expansion, etc. at his age, it's pretty impressive, and it showcases why he has the potential to become someone on the level of Gojo Satoru and even potentially surpass him. I'm not entirely sure what's in store for the rest of this fight as I'm recording this. I've only read up to chapter 250 because that's all that's out right now. Yuta he could still have some more stuff up his sleeve. We know that in the movie Zero that he was able to display that he could use Black Flash, and we've yet to see him use that, so that's still a possibility. But I'm loving what he's done so far, because even though that Sukuna is weakened, he's still a monster. So the fact that Yuta he's able to trade blows against them and even at points have the upper hand, hey, I think that we need to give him his flowers and give him the credit that he deserves. But that's just my thoughts about Yuta. Like I said, he's my favorite character and I've been seeing him get slandered over Twitter recently, so I had to go and give him some love. But let me know how you guys feel about Yuta versus Sukuna in the comment section below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you guys never miss out on a new video. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. It's on the screen and in the description below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and don't forget to unleash your potential.